Hey guys, so welcome to the first episode of the podcast. So if you don't, well, obviously you don't know because I haven't announced it. I'm going to start making, like, occasionally, maybe every week or every other week. I don't know when. Um, I'm basically gonna make a podcast, and because I can literally talk for hours and I've got to get it out somewhere. So I thought might as well start a podcast because it's cool. It's just something cool to do. So you can see we're super professional because we got super cool looking. Sorry for the bad mic quality, but super cool looking headphones. I am saving up for a better mic, so next time it'll be so much better. Okay, so in this episode, obviously this is episode 1. In this episode, we're going to be talking about planted aquariums and just that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. So obviously I don't have a script, no paper. However, I will be following topics. I'm not gonna just go around talking about random things. So, yeah. Also, let me know if you like these, like me doing podcasts on my main channel, or if you just want me to start a new channel. Obviously, I'm probably gonna post this late at night. I might post this in the morning, but it's gonna be hard to be the first one to see the podcast. Obviously, like and subscribe stuff. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about advice. Also, one more thing before we get into it. I'm not gonna do any cuts. I'm gonna try not to. If I do, it's just because I got tired and it got it got late and stuff, and I still live with my parents, so they go to sleep and stuff, and I'm right by their room, so I have to go to sleep early. The pea puffer's out. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Roz is out. Yeah, Roz is my pea puffer. She's very shy. I'm gonna need to do a water change tomorrow because that water is not looking too good. So, it's fine. She's healthy. She's fine. It's just it doesn't look good to me. So, hold up. That's not actually. That's how bright it is in real life. And I'm trying to keep it that way. Not good picture quality on my face. You can't really see my face very well. But you want to be able to see my tank, not my face. It's not. Of course it's my channel, but it's about fish. So, yeah, that puffer's out like crazy. So if you don't know, that's Roz, my pea puffer. She's so cute. She's absolutely adorable. I'm not gonna bring you close to her because you have no idea how long it took to set up that camera. I'm using my phone. I'm not using a camera, so. But I don't have a proper tripod right now. At least I do, but I took it on a camping trip, to try to get some footage, see if I could. I didn't, so yeah. But I think I left it in the camper, so I'm gonna have to get that out. Yeah, but no, I want to talk about easy beginner plants, what you need and don't need. Or in my next podcast, I'm going to talk about, technology that you need and don't need. But, right now I'm talking about things you need and don't need for planted aquariums specifically. And just good fish to put in a planted aquarium. So first I want to talk about easy beginner plants and some of my favorite plants and stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you're wondering what I'm looking at my guppy tank. Obviously the guppy tank's lights are out. This light is actually on usually 24/7. Comment down below, is that actually good for the fish, for the light to be on 24/7? I mean, just comment down below because I have no idea. I mean, from one channel I heard that the light will literally do nothing in regards to fish. It's not gonna do anything in regards to fish. Also, it's not actually as bright as it's seeming on camera. It looks super bright on camera. Anyways, so one of my favorite beginner plants is Anubias. For some reason, sorry, I'm a little bit feeling a little bit under the weather. You know, fall weather. If you're watching this anytime else, you know, you wouldn't know. But it's fall where I live. Well, duh, it's fall where everybody lives right now. So it's feeling under the weather, you know. Anyways, but Anubias is a good beginner plant because I have it in my guppy garden. If you don't know, the guppy garden is the tank with all my guppies, you know. We got Waffles in there, which is my sunrise guppy. If you don't know what a sunrise guppy is, look it up. They're so beautiful. They look like a phoenix combined with a fish. Sorry. But no, that Anubias, usually it's a slow growing plant, but that one, it's taken off, man. Like, it just grew 2 new leaves today, so that's a great beginner plant. And then Alodia. Alodia is, I've actually got it in this tank right there. Freak her out. In this tank right here, hey, she's not actually freaking out. That middle plant, you know, that one? That's Alodia, that middle fluffy plant, that's Alodia, and it's really good because, you know, it grows nicely, grows nice and tall, good for big tanks, good for small tanks, good for river tanks, good for stillwater tanks. Point is, it's good for every tank. So, I mean, yeah, it's amazing. Oh, and also, if you hear creaking, that's my dog. She's on my bottom bunk. Anyways, I might take that filter off. I think I'm gonna take it off because really this tank does not need a filter. It's so small. I mean, it's got so many plants in there, and there's just that one pea puffer with a couple shrimps and a dwarf crawfish. So I mean, yeah, I did. If you're wondering, if you're thinking, oh, this 2.5 gallon tank is way too small for a pea puffer, or way too small for a dwarf crawfish. The dwarf crawfish, I was planning on putting it in the 10 gallon, but unfortunately the 10 gallon, not good for that thing. I checked the water, the crawfish wasn't looking too good. I was wondering why, so I checked the water. The pH is 6.0, which is super low, like below average. That is, so pretty much no invertebrates can live in there, barely even shrimp. And I was wondering why my ghost shrimp were dying, and I think that was because the pH is 6.0, and that whole tank is kind of made to have a 6.0 pH because of the fact that, you know, it's got the wood, which is releasing tannins, which is lowering the water, you know, lowering the pH, and then the fluval stratum, which also lowers the pH. It's gone into chaos. However, this tank, it's got, you know, the average pH, you know, 7.0 pH, so the shrimp and stuff, the invertebrates will do okay in there for now, up until I can figure out the pH situation in the guppy garden. I forgot to unplug the filter in the guppy garden before I recorded. Hold up, I'm gonna be right back and do that. It's gonna be a silent moment because I'm not making any cuts. 1 second. Sorry about that. And sorry about kicking the camera also. Just wanted to increase the quality of this video, so Gotta turn the filter off. I am actually thinking of a new stand for this tank. What just fell on my head? I don't know. Probably nothing. Anyways, so, if you can't tell, I'm kind of also just talking about things that could pop up in my mind. Moneywort, I did a video on Moneywort, a short on Moneywort. Really good plant. You know, definitely recommend. What did I just say there? Definitely recommend it for the beginner. If you're seeing something moving around in like that corner in this side, that's just where the pea puffer loves to hang out. I don't know actually why. He either hangs out in the plants or hangs out in that open area. She's just a weird puffer. She's weird. I gotta get brine shrimp for her because unfortunately she doesn't seem to be eating the snails or the frozen brine shrimp. So I'm gonna get her a brine shrimp hatchery, grow some out. I'm gonna try to grow some brine shrimp out and breed them so that I have infinite brine shrimp and don't have to worry about buying brine shrimp anymore. So, I mean, yeah. This tank is going really good. Anyways, dwarf hairgrass, really good beginner plant. I have it in actually both of my tanks, not the goldfish tank, which if you're wondering, I've never showed you the goldfish tank before, and I will soon. Don't worry, I will, okay? I promise. If I can, because it's in a living room, and once again, I live with the parents. I don't like recording videos in front of anybody. Like, on YouTube, it's fine. I'm fine with recording videos on YouTube. But, like, in front of people, no, I don't like recording videos. So, I'm gonna have to wait till my mom's gone, my dad's gone, doing something. Dad's off at work, mom's off at work, and I'll just record a video. So, yeah. Yeah. I just want to say something. If you live in, like, somewhere, like, in South Haven, I've seen in South Haven, in, like, Orlando and stuff, in Mississippi, there's, like, no local fish stores. There's Petco's and Pet Smarts everywhere, but there's, like, no local fish stores. So where I actually got my plants, you really won't believe me. I actually got most of my plants from Petco. Yeah, Petco. Most of my fish are, a lot of my fish are from Petco. A lot of them are from my local fish store, kind of a combination. Christy, if you don't know who Christy is my guppy that's known for giving birth a ton. So Christy, I got from a local fish store. Yin, which is another guppy. I think she's either a really uncolored Endler, like a really non-colored up Endler guppy, or Yin is a mosquito fish, which is very possible. I think from what I know of, mosquito fish are literally just guppies, but they're gray. Or she's just a guppy that just not colorful, so could be either of those. A floater plant that's good. A good floater plant is water lettuce, dwarf water lettuce, regular water lettuce, doesn't matter. Just water lettuce in general is just a, hold on, there we go. Water lettuce is just a good plant in general. It's a really good plant, so. Oh, also, if you're wondering why I unplugged the filter, it's because not good sound. You know, it's not a fun sound to hear all, you know, while you're recording. I'm like, no, I'm trying to record. So, you know, I gotta turn the sound off. So, yeah. Something else. Okay, what was it? Requirements. Right, that's what. Requirements. This might be actually a short episode. but some requirements are like, obviously, in my opinion, in my opinion, the first couple days you're gonna want a filter. If you're trying to do an ecosystem, you don't have to do a filter. Just kind of, do a bunch of water changes, like a water change every day. I think like a 50% water change every day. However, I just don't have the time for this tank, so what I did is I just put a filter on, and I'm going to keep it on until the plants have completely filled out. And like this side, I added some more money wort to that side. It's kind of, the money wort is kind of like a placeholder. I'm going to put like hornwort or pearlweed. Hold on. Alright guys, sorry about that, but we're back. I just had to deal with some things. If you can't tell, it's actually the next morning. I didn't have my mic down. Anyways, it's the next morning, so yeah. Can't remember what I was talking about. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna get into things you need and don't need. Right. I was saying obviously you need a filter, but there's a couple other things you need that you may not know, but most times you do know. Lighting is important. Correct kind of lighting. Some plants don't like light. Some plants do like light. Just do your research. See what plants like light. So see what plants don't. And then obviously fertile substrate, completely necessary for most plants. Even most epiphytes I find do better with fertile substrate. The Anubias in my guppy garden, what is a gupple garden? No, my guppy garden, that one is grown with a fertile substrate, and it shoots off. Cause sometimes you don't bury the plant, or bury the plant rhizome or the roots in the substrate, or at least for epiphytes. But for stem plants and carpeting plants and all those kind of plants, you do. But for like things like Anubias, you don't bury them in the substrate. I cannot talk today. Anyways, you don't bury them in the substrate. You just wait for the roots to go in the substrate by themselves. So and when they do, it starts taking off, man. So Anubias, so good. I just can't express to you how good of a plant Anubias is. So yeah, the peepers out. If you haven't noticed, I did switch the filter to this side, and it was on that side. And I also did some things to the tank. I didn't move it because I was trying to hook up. What I had to do is I had an extension, right? I had an extension that was plugged in at an outlet over there. I had an extension, and so basically the extension could plug in 3 devices at once. However, I was only using it for the hang on the back, so I had to move the hang on the back from that side to that side and plug it in over here on in that wall, so that I could add an extra filter to my guppy garden, because the guppy garden is getting super understocked. Not understocked, overstocked. So I'm gonna need all the filtration I can get, because I just need a lot of filtration for the guppy garden. So yeah, gonna have to do a lot of work to that thing. I don't actually do water changes on that tank. Despite how overstocked it is, I don't do water changes on that tank, and everything, I check the water parameters, everything's healthy, everything's working properly. It's just I don't do water changes. I barely do water changes on this tank, However, because it's fairly new, I still do a couple water changes, just not, as often as I would do like, a non-planted tank or tank that doesn't have a lot of plants stuff. So yeah, another thing you're gonna need, a couple things you don't need, but people will say you need, is things like fertilizers. Fertilizers, people will say you need fertilizers, like Easy Green from Aquarium Co-op, or, any kind of fertilizer. You don't need it, okay? You really don't. And as much as I would love to support companies like Aquarium Co-op and API and stuff, unfortunately, that's one thing I kind of just can't support them on, because you don't need it, okay? You really don't need it. And also, fertilizers not only will fertilize your plants, but they'll also fertilize plants that you didn't know were there, like algae. So, just be careful. So, you can do fertilizers, and I think it helps the plants grow a little bit faster. However, I've pretty much got a full carpet in the guppy garden. I don't do CO2. I don't do fertilizers. I don't have that good of lighting on there. And I don't the substrate is fluval stratum, and that's expensive. That's the only kind of high-tech thing that I have, is that fluval stratum. That's it. And even then it's like $16 for like a pretty big bag, so even then it's not that expensive. It is still pretty expensive, but not out the roof, like $30 for a 10-gallon bag. So yeah, anyways, not a 10-gallon bag, a fluval stratum that would be able to cover the bottom of a 10-gallon tank. Anyways, so you really don't need fluval stratum. What you can literally just do is get like pond soil, not pond soil, like soil for your terrestrial plants, and put it on the bottom of your tank, and then just cap it over with some sand. Boom, you've got fertile substrate. And that's what I did in the pea puffer setup. I've got fertile substrate underneath, then capped it with sand. Some people say, oh, you need to put gravel under the sand. And while gravel helps, you really don't need to put gravel under your sand. They'll say, oh, but the sand starts compacting and stuff. But I've had this tank set up for almost a year now, and nothing bad has happened to it. So I'm gonna say you don't need to do that. So yeah. Also, some people will say, I'm also gonna kind of talk about, I'm talking about planted tanks, so basically like aquascaping planted tanks too. So, but I'm gonna continue talking about what you need and don't need for a planted tank. I don't suggest putting certain types of shrimp, like a mono shrimp, maybe like certain crabs, like micro crabs. I know they're brackish water. They're brackish water, yeah. So like freshwater crabs, bigger kind of algae eaters like ottos.
With like you crazy.
Sorry about that. That was my mom. She was just joking around. What was I saying? Right. Like ottos. You don't want ottos with Elodia, things like Elodia, things like I can't figure out what that plant is on this far side. So if you could tell me, that would be great, but I don't actually know what that is. I might try to, I think I can look it up on Google. No, so I'll probably try that. But yeah, check this out. Totally random, but Dr. Pepper cap. I don't know why. It's just cool. Anywho, so yeah, just beware of bigger algae eaters. Sometimes they like algae so much that they'll go on and eat your plants when there's no more algae. And that's what I'm currently experiencing with even the smallest of algae eaters. These simple Neocaridina shrimp, they are eating up my plants. I mean, it's not too bad. The plants are still able to grow, and most of it is because of this plant on this far side. That one, yes, I'm pointing at it. Anyways, on that side, it's mainly because that one was growing immersed, and so now it's getting used to the submersed growth and stuff, and it's still kind of converting. It's gonna take a while, so leaves are dying off, so cherry shrimp are eating, or not. I don't actually have cherry shrimp in here. I have a red really shrimp and a orange shrimp, but that's kind of it. I don't have a. I'm gonna get a male, probably a male cherry, maybe. I don't actually know what kind of male, but we'll see. Anyways, also, some good fish that are compatible and just look good in a planted tank are things like guppies. I mean, guppies look pretty good, but you have to get the right kind of guppies. Like darker guppies, they look good. Some brighter colored guppies, they look good. And then there's things like the smaller fish. If you're trying to do like, obviously these guys require 10-gallon. I mean, the guppies require like small tanks. They like need like 5-gallon, and that's it. But beware of guppies. They will breed like crazy, and you will not be able to get them to stop unless you keep males with males and females with females. So be careful when putting guppies in your 5-gallon. I would suggest putting them in something like a 20-gallon, because you're gonna get babies and you're gonna get a lot of them. As much as you may think, oh no, it'll be fine. No, I have terrible luck in breeding. They'll never breed for me. They're gonna breed, and they're gonna breed rapidly. So make sure you've got a tank set up for the babies. You've got a local buyer that will buy your fry, because you're gonna need somebody who's gonna buy those babies, because there's gonna be a ton of them. So yeah, be careful. And then Ember Tetras. Obviously, Ember Tetras need a 10-gallon. They're really good. The bright red going against the bright green, it just looks so good. Especially when you put like a black backdrop, it looks so good. So Ember Tetras are a really good one. And then obviously the classic, the neon. Obviously they need like a 10-gallon, and they look super good in a planted tank because they school really nicely, and I just think they're enjoyable. And obviously got to acknowledge the puffer. The pea puffer is a great puffer, probably the best puffer to keep in a planted tank, but also just a good fish to keep in a planted tank, because these guys, they won't bother the plants. I mean, they might nip off a little bit of them if they're feeling real hungry, but usually puffers like a meaty diet, so they're not gonna even, they shouldn't even touch the plants. As long as you're feeding them right, they shouldn't even touch the plants. And like, they love a good planted tank because they can hide in it, and you can see, or really you can't see, because you can't really see the puffer in here. It's because she likes to hide in the plants, so it's pretty cool. And then there's obviously, things like, fish that are just compatible with plants, not really looking good in a planted tank, but compatible. I mean, not looking good in my opinion. In your opinion, they might look amazing in a planted tank, but in my opinion, I just don't like these fish, or I just don't like them in a planted tank. Things like black neons, I do actually like them in a planted tank. It's just, I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't tried to keep them in a planted tank. I have one black neon, and I know some people would be like, oh, that's so unhealthy. That's so bad for the fish. You can't just have one black neon. Unfortunately, the entire school died because they were in a goldfish tank, and I thought it would be fine to keep them with the goldfish, but apparently not. So, I mean, I might get him another school, but he seems to be fine. He seems to kind of school up with the Ember Tetras, which is really weird. I mean, he seems to school up with them. He's kind of like displaying the behavior of an Ember Tetra, just kind of, chilling, not doing much. But I might get him a new school. That way they can stroll around and stuff and be chill. If you're hearing stuff in the background, it's my mom. She's doing something. I don't know what she's doing, but probably something useful. She's 10 out of 10 mom. Anyways, a couple things that you might want to avoid. No, a couple things that you're gonna want to avoid in a planted tank is things like certain kind of snails will eat your plants. Like, I heard mystery snails will actually try to eat your plants, so just be careful of that. I don't think they would, because it's just snail, I mean, as long as you have fast growing plants, I think you'll be cool, but I mean, that's just what I heard. Anyways, then other things like goldfish, you can keep them with some plants. Like, you can keep them with some plants that root down nice and deep. That way the goldfish can't pick them and pull them out. But, plants that root down nice and deep, like, once again, Alodia. Alodia is a river plant. So, like, they are native to, like, fast flowing streams and rivers and stuff. So, like, they need to be able to root down. And things like moneywort is also pretty good, but you have to make sure that the goldfish is not gonna eat the plant before it can root down. What else? Silver dollars. Avoid silver dollars. I thought that silver dollars might go good with some plants, but silver dollars will even eat, like, Anubias. And Anubias has, like, thick leaves. Like, thick, almost plastic-feeling leaves. And they still just tear that stuff up. So, I mean, avoid silver dollars. They look good. And if you're wanting to do, like, a tank with, like, plants coming out the top, like, terrestrial plants coming out the top and the roots going down the bottom of the water, that's fine. From what I heard, the silver dollars won't bother the roots, but things like Anubias, any plant really, they will just chow down on, so be careful. And then what else? The obvious things like flower horns, Oscars sometimes, arowanas, bigger fish. I don't think bigger fish are very compatible with plants and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. What else? What do I want to talk about now? Right. What is it? Shoot. Oh, yeah. I just want to talk about, some people will say that you need hardscape in a tank. Well, for context, I'm going to go into the aquascaping kind of view of it. I'm going to steer us into aquascaping a planted tank. So, like, really, aquascaping a planted tank is whatever you want to do. It's whatever you want to do. Some people will say, oh, no, don't put rainbow gravel in there. And while it doesn't look good to some fish keepers, if you like rainbow gravel, put rainbow gravel in there. Just make sure it's safe for the fish and the paint's not going to come off and, kill the fish and stuff. Just make sure it's safe. But if you want to put rainbow gravel in there, by all means, put rainbow gravel in there. That's your tank. But, and also some people will say you need hardscape, but you really don't. Hardscape, I mean, if you really just don't need a hardscape, because, if you're trying to grow things like, Anubias and stuff, you might need some hardscape so you can attach it to it. But even then, you can just get what Petco does and stuff. They put it on suction cups and they put it on the wall, which doesn't look too good. But once again, if that's what you prefer, go ahead. It's your tank. But I just want to give you some suggestions, some things that will make your tank a 10 out of 10 planted tank. Have a vision for your tank, right? You want to either steer yourself in a very natural kind of aquascape or an unnatural aquascape. You need to pick. That's the first choice you have. Pick natural or unnatural. Like this tank in the back, this puffer tank, that's an unnatural tank. And it's not unnatural that, like rainbow, once again, the rainbow gravel and stuff. It may look kind of natural, but it's completely unnatural. It has no hardscape, which in the wild, there's gonna be hardscape. It's got plants in little bunches. Like what I did was I've got sections of certain kinds of plants. Like one section's got moneywort, one section's got Elodia, and the other section's got that, whatever that plant is. Oh, I just freaked out my puffer. I'm sorry, puffer. Anyways, but that is an unnatural scape. But something like the guppy garden is a very naturalistic scape because it's got, the kind of plants randomly placed. I do kind of have it in order because I'm going for like a corner scape with this big ball of just plants and then sticks coming out. So it's kind of placed orderly. However, it is, it's more randomly placed. You've got the grass on this side and then the Monte Carlo on this side. And sometimes the grass and the Monte Carlo kind of mix up and it looks amazing when it does that. But, just randomly placed. And you've got the Anubias going everywhere. Like, that is a natural tank. So that's the first choice you have. Now, once you pick one, say you go with an unnatural scape. Now you need to pick the elements. What plants do you want? Where will you put your plants? What kind of gravel do you want? Do you want fertile substrate or do you want to just put the plants on sticks? Things like that. Like certain things, the smallest thing can make a naturalistic tank unnatural. Like, so you put Amazon frogbit with like puffer, a pea puffer. That makes it kind of unnatural because of the fact that a pea puffer comes from India and Amazon frogbit obviously comes from the Amazon. So, smallest things. But if you're not really paying attention to the small things, doesn't matter, Like, I put a bunch of random stuff in my tank. I can guarantee you those plants don't all originate from the same continent. However, it doesn't matter. It's still a naturalistic tank in my eyes because, I wasn't really going for a continent tank or a native tank. I was going for just kind of a cool little community tank with all kinds of different plants from all kinds of different places. So, if you're really wanting to pay attention any little thing can make a naturalistic scape completely unnatural. So, yeah. Also, be careful. I did say yes, you can put rainbow gravel in if you want to. However, some gravels, the paint will chip off and it'll kill your fish. Like, massacre. Your fish are all dead. So, I mean, be careful what kind of rainbow gravel you're putting in your tank. What I would do, personally, is to speed up the kind of life cycle of the gravel. You know, the life cycle being how fast paint chips off. Like, put it in a bowl or a pot of boiling water, and then just keep it in there. And if you see that the gravel, if you see that the water looks disgusting and it's turning brown and the gravel's starting to turn white, don't put that in your tank at all. Do not. Just don't do it. That would be bad. So that would kill your fish. Yeah. And then, like, let's say now you're wanting to go for a natural scape. Now, first thing you're going to want to do, if you're trying to make a native tank, let's say your naturalistic tank is going in a 10-gallon. Let's say you're going in a naturalistic scape. You need to pick a continent with very small fish, like Hawaii or South America. And I believe South America has things like guppies and stuff. Or things like Africa. Like Africa, you can put some African dwarf frogs and make a scape with that. Or do whatever. But let's say you're not trying to do a native tank. Let's say you're just trying to do a natural looking tank. What I would suggest is, if your plants do carpet out, cool. But maybe try to avoid a full carpet. If you're trying to do a really naturalistic scape, try to avoid a full carpet, because I guarantee you, there's not always going to be a full carpet of grass in a native, in an area. There might be, maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, do what you want. Like I said, your tank. If you want a full carpet in your natural tank, go ahead. And of course, in the guppy garden, I'm going to have a full carpet in there. So, I can't really say anything. So, do what you want, but in my opinion, a full carpet doesn't really look super naturalistic. However, once again, I'm doing a full carpet in the guppy garden, so who am I to say anything? And then what you can do to kind of increase the naturalistic kind of thing, kind of whatever you're going for, place sticks in there, but don't glue them. Like, some people will glue the sticks in the rocks and stuff. But really, unless the sticks are gonna float up, if you feel, I can't speak today. If you're feeling like your sticks are gonna float up, sorry, if you feel like your sticks are gonna float up, by all means glue them. But if they're not, then what you could do is just kind of put them in there how you would like them to go, and then just let them fall down, or whatever they're gonna do. Just let them do their thing, and it'll look. I can't talk today. Good Lord, I picked the wrong day to do a podcast. Anyways, but just let them do whatever they want to. It makes the tank look super natural. Also, trimming. Don't worry about trimming in a naturalistic tank. It looks so good when you don't have the plants trimmed. Unless it's something like hornwort or alodia that is just gonna whoop on the surface. It's just gonna flop over on the surface and it just looks ugly. Obviously trim it then. But other than that, just don't trim it. It looks good. It looks great when it's not trimmed. So, is my mic on? I gotta make sure. Okay, good. That would be terrible if I did this whole episode and my mic's not even on. Anyways, yeah. So, just like I say, do whatever you want. Also, try to avoid fake plants. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care if you like fake plants. I don't. You just need to avoid them. Because sometimes, like, say you put a guppy with a fake plant, it's fine. Up until the guppies get fin rot because they were slicing their tail on that fake plant. So avoid fake plants no matter how much easier they are to care for. Avoid them. They're not good for your tank. And avoid, even if it's like a cloth plant, avoid it. Because you know what you can do when you avoid a fake plant? That's how this tank started. I challenged myself in this tank. Well, obviously, to escape before the Pea Puffers tank. I had this tank had the Ember This tank used to have the Ember Tetras in there, then I had the guppies, and I'll make a whole story about it, or a short, or something. Well, it's kind of long for a short, but, maybe in the next podcast I'll talk about that tank, and the backstory and stuff, in the origin. But right now, I'm just saying, this tank started, the Guppy Garden started, the tank started, all from me just saying, okay, I'm going to try and avoid fake plants. I'm gonna try to do no fake plants in this tank, and I did. And look at my fish room now. I got a cool pea puffer. I got the guppy garden, which you can't see because I'm kind of not in that angle, but I've got some cool stuff now. So just try to avoid fake plants, and trust me, you will thank me later for it. Also, fake plants don't grow, obviously. Real plants can grow. And meaning, when you get a real plant, you've pretty much got infinite plants for all your scapes. So, just saying, I would go with real plants. So, yeah, but once again, my opinion. Once again, that's my opinion, but I really feel like you should give it a go and just do at least one tank with no fake plants. Just give it a go. I promise you. You'll thank me later for it. Then, what else? I want to kind of talk about ecosystems. Should I, Roz? I think Roz hates me right now. Yeah, I think Roz hates me. And also Mushi hates me because I didn't feed him mealworms this morning. They're a treat, Mushu, not a meal. Anyways, so I'm going to talk about ecosystems and how you can recreate your own ecosystem. Technically, this tank is an ecosystem, but because the plants aren't fully grown yet, these three are fully grown. It's just this side, the money wart on that side, isn't fully grown yet, and I'd like that to be fully grown before I remove the filter and stuff. Obviously, honestly, that tank is not looking as clear as it usually is. I'm gonna have to do a water change on that after this episode. Anyways, what was I saying? Right, ecosystems. Anyways, so an ecosystem and what it requires. So basically, let me say what an ecosystem is and how you can set it up. So basically, a working ecosystem fish tank is basically where you don't need to do water changes, you don't need a filter, you you know, all you need to do is top off the water and feed the tank. That's it. That is it for an ecosystem. The only reason I don't do it with that tank is because, you know, one, I really like that filter. I think it's really cool. And two, because of the fact that that side's not grown out yet, so can't do it yet. Anyways, so what you require, what you need for an ecosystem tank, if you're wondering what that noise is, it's me doing this. I don't know why I'm doing that. You can't even see. Anyways, what the requirements are for an ecosystem tank. One thing that's super important is a thick sand bed. Thick sand bed. I mean, like, this tank, it may not look that thick at front, but I mean, when you look at the sides, and it even does look pretty thick at the front, but the sides and the back, it's up like this big. I mean, like, that's pretty big. So, I mean, a thick sand bed is really important for an ecosystem to house beneficial bacteria, keep the roots in the substrate, and it's just really good. It also just looks really good. And then for an ecosystem, you're gonna need lots of live plants, and I mean lots of live plants. Just like the pea buffer setup, you're gonna need a lot of live plants. Like, some good ones, not some good ones, but some that you want to go for are like fast growing plants. If you're trying to set up a tank that's not supposed to look super clean, once again, you're trying to set up a naturalistic tank, do some floater plants. Floater plants will work wonders in a ecosystem, because of the fact that, like, these guys, they don't dig their roots in the substrate, and they're not taking nutrients from the substrate and the poop that goes on the substrate. Instead, what they do is they take their roots, go into the water, and they take excess nutrients, which is like ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates. They take that from the water column and suck it all up to grow and get big. And so when that happens, obviously, it's really good, because then it gets rid of all the nasties in your water. So floater plants are a really good one for a non-clean, a not clean scape, like a naturalistic scape. Let's say you're setting something up like this. Oh my goodness, that pea buffer is flaring up at me. What are you doing? Why are you flaring up at me? By flaring up at me, I mean spreading her tail out. That's not really flaring up. But, it just looks cute. She's so cute. Oh my goodness, puffer, I swear, pea puffers are so cute. If you don't have a pea puffer yet, set up a tank, cycle it, go get yourself a pea puffer. I mean, like, they are such a treat to have. Like, they're so cute. They're literal water puppies. I mean, they're not the most exciting fish. They don't move around super fast. But, they're just so cute. Anyways, but some good plants, like, say you're not setting up a naturalistic setup. Say you're let's say you're trying to copy my design, which is okay. It's fine for you to copy my design. In fact, I copied this design from another YouTuber. I'm not going to say who it is, but basically they had this, like, 5-gallon tank, and they put, like, some sparkling gouramis in it, and they made it, like, they tried to trim it a lot, but I think they did it overgrown. They had, like, tons of shrimp, and of course they had floater plants, but I'm not putting floater plants because of how small mine is. If you don't know, this is a 2.5-gallon tank, so it's super tiny. But, it works wonders. The pea puffer doesn't seem to be too stressed out about, I don't think she really cares about how small it is. She's got a lot of plants to play in and stuff, so I don't think she really cares. Anyways, what I was saying was, good plants for like a tank like this is Alodia, of course, moneywort, and pearlweed, hornwort, just fast growing stem plants. Because you're probably not gonna have hardscape and an unnaturalistic setup. Also, once again, in a naturalistic setup, I can't talk today. Anyways, in a naturalistic setup, another good plant is a Nubias, obviously, amazing plant. Anyways, but for a tank like this, you're just gonna want stem plants. Stem plants will be key, because of the fact that anything that falls to the bottom may not get picked up by the filter. And so what will happen is, over time, that poop and grime and stuff will fall, kind of slowly sink into the substrate as the snails kind of run over it and stuff. It kind of slowly sinks into the substrate. And when that happens, the plants use it as nutrients. The plants kind of get the nutrients from that poop and fallen leaves and excess food. They eat up that nutrients and just poof, gone. And then another thing for like ecosystem tanks, and I'm really just talking about mainly tanks like this, like small tanks. Everything must play a role. I mean, if you're really wanting a really good ecosystem and amazing success, everything must have a role. Let me explain. So this tank, everything has a role. The pea puffer has the role of killing the snails. The snails fall down to the bottom. Obviously, the snails serve the purpose of eating excess food and fallen leaves so that they don't create ammonia. The pea puffer eats the snails, kills them, they fall to the bottom. The shrimp eat the dead carcasses of the snails, making sure there's no guts left, and making sure that the tank will stay nice and clean. And also the shrimp clean up, make everything look nice and tidy. Full ecosystem. Everything plays a role. I really don't have to feed this tank. And I really don't do it that much. It's just for the crawfish. That's going to be temporary. The crawfish isn't staying in here. I have to buy lava rock for the guppy tank, because the guppy tank, like I said, low pH, so I have to buy lava rock for the guppy tank so that it can raise the pH and, it'll be harder water. And the pH is basically a fancy word for calcium. And the calcium will help the crawfish be able to molt better and be able to just thrive in that tank. So that tank needs a raise in pH. So, yeah. But the only reason I have to feed this tank is because of the crawfish. Anyways, but like I say, everything has to play a role if you want a absolutely perfect success of a ecosystem. So, I mean, yeah, just make sure all your fish are playing a role. You don't have any fish that are just pooping, creating waste and stuff. Unless you like the fish, unless you really like that fish, it's fine. That'll be fine. More fertilizer for the plants. But, even the plants are playing a role, like I said. They're making sure that the tank is clean. Everything in there is keeping the tank in pristine condition. Good Lord, that pea puffer is going crazy back there. Everything's going crazy back there. Anyways, you can see that little dot moving around. That guy. Yeah, that's the puffer. So cute. Anyways, but everything in there plays a role. So that's really important. Something I want to talk about in, what was I saying? No, what was I saying? In planted tanks. Something I want to talk about in planted tanks is technology. Don't overload on technology. You don't. For me, I wouldn't be using technology if I don't need it. The filter, I need the filter because, it helps. Because it keeps the tank clean. Well, that filter really is just keeping the tank clear. It's not cleaning the tank, it's just keeping it clear. And then the light helps the plates grow. That's it, okay? Okay? You don't need all these fancy things unless you live in a really cold place, or you don't have a heated room or something. Then obviously you're gonna need light, filter, and heater. But other than that, don't do too much technology. I don't have thermometers in my tanks. I barely test the waters in my tanks. I don't do CO2. I don't do fancy lighting. I literally do cheap budget lighting. As you know, this light is a literal ring light. I mean, like, when I say I set up cheap tanks, I mean I set up cheap tanks. This tank in total only cost me, at most, I think this tank only cost me like $100. And of course, that sounds like a lot, but when you get into fish tanks, you'll know that it does add up. I mean, the plants and everything, it does add up. And even then, I don't think it even cost $100. I think it didn't cost $100. It's like $64 or 60, like $40 US dollars, of course. And this ring light didn't cost me anything. A friend gave it to me, wasn't working, I fixed it, and now it's working perfectly. Filter cost me $9 on Amazon. I mean, dirt cheap tanks. So, I mean, you don't need fancy technology to set up a good tank. You don't need CO2. You don't need, fancy kind of ADA lighting. You don't need ADA tanks. I mean, as you know, these are Aquarium tanks, not even the rimless Aquarium tanks. These are literally Aquarium tanks that I took the rims off. I literally, I got the tanks and I just de-rimmed it. You can look up a tutorial on how to do that. Unfortunately, I don't have a tutorial and I won't be getting a new tank anytime soon. So I won't be able to make a tutorial anytime soon. So, you can go look up a tutorial on how to de-rim your tank. Super easy, super simple. Definitely recommend you do it. I mean, of course, unless it's like, I wouldn't de-rim anything over 10 gallons, okay? So be careful about that. Yeah. So like I say, you don't need expensive things. Like this tank cost me $12. That tank, not the plants, the tank itself cost me $12. Not expensive at all. So I mean, you don't need cheap things. You don't need expensive things. Just challenge yourself. Try to go as cheap as you can. So I mean, like, yeah. Yeah, I think this is a good place to end the podcast. This is a short one, because this is my first episode of the podcast. Not gonna be super fancy. I know I did make 2 cuts, even though I said I wasn't gonna edit the videos. However, those were kind of, I won't say they were emergencies because they weren't emergencies. They were just kind of interruptions that I had to, So I unfortunately do have to edit the video. So I know you probably don't want me to, but I do. But it'll be okay. It'll be okay. I hope maybe the next videos will go a little bit better. I'll try to plan them better, like I say, it's a little hard to do these kind of things because I still live with my parents and my sister and stuff, and so people are making noise. So, you know, it's a little bit hard to do these things, but you know, you live and you learn. So, yeah, in the next video, or in the next episode, I want to talk about, you know, just technology and fish breeding and stuff, things you need and don't need. So, thank you for watching today's episode all the way through to the end. If you did make it this far, make sure that you like, and subscribe. And make sure to tune in for the next episode where we're going to talk about technology and fish breeding. So I'll see you in the next one.